Hello everybody, how are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizzano, and this is a bonus episode of the world famous The University of Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call the show Online Marketing Moves. Ladies and gents, today we are going to talk about something. This won't be a very long podcast, but we're going to talk about something very important. We are going to talk about building your own world. And we'll bring this up from time to time, but today I wanted to talk about this because in the news lately, I do this podcast on the Anchor app. Anchor is owned by Spotify, and lately Spotify has been in some hot water because they have a deal with Joe Rogan. We all know Joe Rogan. Apparently he has probably the biggest podcast in the world. I didn't realize that, but he has a pretty big podcast, and lately he's been in the news because Joe Rogan has not said anything about. Well, I'm sure he has probably given his opinion about COVID, but he had a couple of doctors on there, and they said COVID is, kind of, sort of not real, or they had those kind of thoughts. And these days in 2021, you cannot have your own opinion. You cannot have your own thoughts. We all have our own thoughts. Whether you think COVID is deadly serious, whether you take it lightly, does not matter. You have your own opinion. Now we all know that people die from COVID, but most of the time, and you can look it up. Most of the time, not to get it all into it, but a lot of times people have underlying other health issues mixed in with the COVID is one of the reasons why people, die from it. But getting COVID is very easy. It's very easy to get. The survival rate is high, but you can have headaches and all that kind of stuff. But none of that matters. But these doctors got on her, and because they have Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's been ahead of the COVID for a long time, and he's been giving out information. And some people like to dispel that information. But here's the thing. That people, for some reason, people don't understand. You and I don't have to agree with everything that we, I am a believer in Jesus. You might not be a believer in Jesus. That is something we would have a difference in, a difference in opinion. And even if we both are believers in Jesus, we still might interpret, because interpretation is the thing here. You might take COVID as you let's say you have been through cancer. You might look at COVID like, this is another thing I can beat, So you might not take it. You might take COVID with a grain of salt, As far, like me, I live with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has multiple sclerosis. So for me, I take COVID, I'm like, all right, I don't want to be around a lot of people because I don't want to give her the COVID, because I don't know how it would affect her immune system, because she does not have the strongest immune system able to fight off, the easiest diseases. You know what I mean? So for me, I have to take it a little more seriously. Now, if I lived by myself and if I lived where I grew up, I would take COVID not seriously at all. But I live with my mother-in-law, I have a daughter now, your wife. I'm like, all right, we got to tighten it up, But everybody that goes on Joe Rogan's show, they have an opinion, about COVID and about the state of the world. And lately, for some reason, and this is a problem that we have in the United States. I don't know if they're trying to turn this into a communist country or not, but apparently you cannot have an opinion, because now, like, the singer Neil Young came out and he said, it's either me or Joe Rogan. Well, Neil Young, Spotify has a $100 million deal with Joe Rogan. He brings in millions and millions of listeners every week. And I'm sure Neil Young is great, and I don't really know his music like that, so I'm not gonna sit here and bash the man. But you got $100 million deal with somebody, and they are creating, revenue for you every week. I think they're gonna sort of go with Mr. Joe Rogan, and they did, and they said, "All right, Neil Young, you're out." And so now there's other singers who's been dropping out like flies, all not because of what Joe Rogan said, but who he had on the podcast, which to me is very strange. But here's the thing about the whole situation. Joe Rogan, even if Spotify was, let's say, try to cancel his contract, Joe Rogan has millions and millions of people listening to him every week. He has created a world, The world, it was on YouTube, and then they paid him money to take it off YouTube. It's not on YouTube now. You can get clips on YouTube, but not the whole show. But it's on Spotify. And Spotify, if they renege on the deal, he could take his podcast, his brand, his world that he's built, and he could take that anywhere he wanted to go. And ladies and gentlemen, that is one of the best things that you can do. You do not want to rely on, and in the beginning you might have to, but you do not want to rely, especially if you have different views than other people. Let's say you are a black person. Let's say you are a black man or a woman. Okay? Let's say you have thoughts of conservatism, Let's say you have a conservative mindset. You are going to get ostracized by the black community. So you are not going to get invited on, the mainstream. You're not going to get invited to MSNBC. I put it to you that much, So for you, I would suggest that you build yourself your own world, And I suggest that for anybody. It does not matter about, politics. It does not matter, For all of us, anybody, you build a following, you get a following, and you have enough things going on, you should start creating a world of your own, And what I mean by that is, the Joe Rogan experience. That's a world. You have the Marvel universe. That's a world. The Harry Potter world. That's universe. That's a world builder. You have the 90 Day Fiance. These are all examples of people that has built worlds. And for you can have like an app. You can have, let's say you're in the weight loss industry. You can have an app. You can have group coaching. You can have the whole thing. And it doesn't have to be on the big tech platforms, because now this is the problem with, if you don't go along with what these people say, they will try to cancel you. So this is why you should build your own world. This is why if you can get it to where you can create something that, like a monthly subscription, a streaming service, a streaming platform, for your content, you want to do that. I know somebody. It's a show called the 85 South Show. I believe it's a show or a podcast, one or two. But somebody talked to me the other day, and they said, "Hey, these guys have a streaming channel now. You can pay and you can watch some of the old content and some of the new content." I was like, "That's cool, man." And it was like $8 a month. So if they have, you can do the math. Let's say you have a following of, 100,000 people, and let's say 10%. So 10,000 people. 10,000 people spend $88 a month. What's that? Somebody do the math. I'll do the math. 10,000 people, $8 a month. That's $80,000. Okay, that's good. That's $960,000 a year. That's some pretty good cabbage, And so that is something that you want to get into. That is something that you want to, because you don't want to rely on, because YouTube will kick you off for fun. Twitter kicks you off for fun. They kicked off Trump. YouTube has kicked off Alex Jones. He has his own eccentric thoughts and views. They gave him the boot. So if you have an opinion and it's a different opinion of the mainstream opinions, then there's a good chance you will get canceled. There's a good chance that they will try to cut you short. So this is why every day you should be thinking about, how can I build up my world? How can I get this party started, And for you, there's lots of ways you can do it. You can go, I would advise everybody, from, what are these people doing? I would advise anybody and everybody to just start creating as much content as possible, and then you can, and your content can be about anything, and you can always it can always get tied into everything, and anything. So that part does not matter. And you create a lot of content, and then you build your audience, you grow your audience, and then you start building your world, and you start really honing in on creating a world that people don't have to leave, you don't have to say, hey, go to YouTube or go to this and go to that one, They can come to you. They can go to the apps. They can go to the whatever else you have going on, the video streaming. You might have a video streaming. They can go to your website. They can go to whatever. So you want to build this up. You want to build this out. And you want it to work for you, You want it to work in your favor. And never rely on one platform. Never. Let's say Facebook. Don't just rely on Facebook. They can kick you off at any time. Don't rely on YouTube. They can kick you off at any time. You have to. I heard this podcast last week from Dan Kennedy. He said the worst thing you can do in business is one of anything. One of anything is the worst you can do. One streaming service, one way to communicate with people. You want to have multiple. One, like bank account. You want to have multiples of each and everything, because you never know who's going to freeze your account. You never know who's going to shut you down, and you want to be able to say, hey, this is why you should email every day, because you email, if you communicate with them every day, they will learn to love you. It's like dating. If you email somebody every day, you communicate with somebody every day, you get to know it, you get to know them, you get to grow with them, and eventually they fall in love. You know what I mean? And so, ladies and gentlemen, build an audience, grow an audience, create a wonderful world for them, create a wonderful world for you to live in. Protect. You don't have to worry about big tech. You don't have to worry about, people disagreeing with you and trying to get you shut down, because that's the crux of everything now. It's like, oh, I don't agree with Joe Blow, I'm going to get him shut down. He's racist. Because I saw a clip of this lady. I guess she said Joe Rogan is racist, and it was some stupid comment he made like 10 years ago, whatever. But it's really not racist, It's just a way for people to try to attack the guy, which is kind of silly, and people are attacking him just because he had guests on his show. If you have a guest on your show and they have an opinion, then that's on them. That's not on you. You are a host, and if somebody comes on your show and they give their opinion, then that's their business. That has nothing to do with you. Yeah, you gave them the platform, but 9 times out of 10, you could be talking to somebody and they can go off on a whole tangent. That's a different story for a different day. But they can go off on a tangent, and you never know where these things will go. It's just like, I remember when Kanye West had this. He did this Hurricane Katrina ad, and he was standing there with Mike Myers, and he said, George Bush don't care about black people. And Mike Myers had the craziest look on his face, and he's like, what? And Mike Myers didn't know what to say. And it's like, what are you going to say? You can't control that man. You can't control him. He's going to say what he wanted to say. And he said what he wanted to say, and that was it. And it's nonsense. Like another guy he had on the show, Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you know Jordan Peterson. I bought one of his books. It was a pretty good book. I mean I got the gist of what he was saying, but apparently he has some controversial things to say. Sometimes I didn't really notice because I don't really, I read people's books, but I don't really keep up with them after that. I enjoyed his book, but apparently he has a lot of things to say. He has a lot of opinions, and people didn't like that he was on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about race and everything like that, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother day. And people were ready to cancel him then. So it's a very weird time we live in. You have to be careful if you have a difference of an opinion. If you don't follow, basically, let's be honest with each other. If you don't follow the right, if you don't follow the left, if you live in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but if you live in America and you don't follow the Democratic way, then they deem you to be a racist. They deem you to be a misogynistic, homophobic kind of person. And sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes I'm fiscally conservative. I think that the government should stay out of people's business when it comes to how they make money, why they make money. I think the government should do less with people because the government only mucks things up when it comes to money because they waste so much money. They waste so much money, but then they only get they could tax marijuana. They could tax prostitution. Well, I'm speaking for the United States. In America, they should legalize marijuana all across the board. People are gonna smoke it anyway, but we all know why they didn't do it at first because you want to put people when people invest in jails, you want to put butts in seats. So grabbing somebody up on a weed charge is easy. You can keep them in jail. You can be like, oh, this is the 7th bus, blah blah blah. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But it's just strange how it works. Like if you don't agree with them, they will try to cancel you. And we have all these people now. It's just like the Black Lives Matter. If you wasn't screaming Black Lives Matter, they looked at you sideways. I didn't say a whole lot of I didn't scream Black Lives Matter because I already know my life matters. I don't have to scream it. It doesn't have to be an anthem for me, but for some people they felt like they had to. But one thing about the Black Lives Matter movement that people don't talk about is the people that started the movement, they got rich and now they ducked off and they live in neighborhoods where if somebody probably of the same color, somebody of the same race, I should say, knocked on the door, they would be like, get out, get away from me, I'm calling the cops, And a lot of these people that say defund the police is like the Cori Bush of Missouri. She said defund the police, and then she turned around and was hiring security guards for her safety, and she gave a whole spiel about why she did that. So the hypocrisy is real out here. And if you want to avoid the hypocrisy of life, the hypocrisy of the outside world, then I suggest you definitely build your own world, and you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about outside noise. You don't have to watch the news. You don't have to do anything. You can create a world for you and your customers. You can create a world for you and your audience, and y'all can grow together, learn together, and it'll be a beautiful thing. And ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, hey, listen. Take your time, think about what I said. I truly think you should definitely build a world because it's more profitable for you. It's better for your audience because you don't want your audience wandering around. You want your audience to be with you. Because here's the thing about people. Let's say you're a star athlete. You play a sport, and let's say you've had 6 coaches in 2 years. You're gonna be a little screwed up. You know what I mean? you're gonna not be in the best shape when it comes to the team. It's just how it is. And so you want to build your own world, because you don't want to have to go through. And the bad thing is when people. The bad thing is, it does not matter. It does not matter, because a lot of people give in the pressure. You don't have to be, because it's just an opinion. You're just a person with an opinion. You're a man, you're a woman, you have an opinion. That's it. It's like if you come to me and say, "Hey man, I don't believe in gay marriage." What am I going to tell you? I'm just going to say, "Okay," and that's your opinion. If I tell you my thoughts about gay marriage, you're going to say that's this guy's opinion. And that's just how it goes. It's not a big deal. But a lot of people, if you don't agree now, it's crazy. It's nonsense. But build your world, build it out, build it up, and let me know how it goes. But I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of Online Marketing Moves. We will be back with another episode sometime down the road. But you should always email me at Tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. That's Tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. Rate the podcast. Give us 5 stars. Let us know what you think. And we will see you later. Peace, everybody.